So, today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about taking over a new building, or maybe it's your first building. And I get asked a lot about that kind of stuff, like taking over a new building or things that people have just never done. There's tons of courses and videos on, how to underwrite a deal or how to get financing. But as far as like once that's all done, and then you actually have to take over the property, and for sure at scale, that we're taking over 3 properties in a couple months here. That's kind of why I got thinking on this. It'll be the first time we've took over multiple properties on the same day or in the same week. You have 180 some units, so that's probably 300 tenants that you have to onboard. You have to get their information. So I'm going to go through just some of the stuff that we do that's helped, and then what I think we'll do is circle back after we take them over, go through how the takeover went, what worked, what didn't, what we're going to do in the future. The first thing that we always do now is you have to send out some kind of information before you take over. So the current landlord will send that out. So we send out, it has all of our information, who to contact, because the day you take over a property, it's always going to be a busy day, and like the money will get transferred to the lawyer, and you'd never know what time that money is going to be released and you can actually get keys to the building. And that first day is always scary because we've had it different times where like right at 5 o'clock, they hand you the keys and you're in charge of it for the night. But, you have to have, the tenants need to have somewhere to contact you. Or we took over a building during COVID. They didn't even meet us. They just left it, all the information, all the leases and everything in an abandoned unit. Depending on the landlord and how, put together they are, you'll have a different first day. So yeah, the first thing we do is send that letter out, and that just gives them a brief outline of, the company. Here's the technology we use. You'll have to register for building stocks. What we're currently using, we'll be switching. Here's the emergency number, things like that. Tenants who've been in a building for a long time hate the fact that that building's selling, almost always. And they'll always look at the new person as like the enemy or the reason that the building sold. So we've seen, like, we'll take over a building and there'll be like Reddit posts starting about our company and, if anyone's dealt with them, and people will just make up things. And so you'll deal with a lot of that. It's almost going to be confrontational. They're not going to like that they have to switch their billing, and they have to switch usually you're going to have to switch the technology or the app that they're using to contact the landlord or the tenant. So the first thing is just to get the information, and then they can research you. We'll get lots of calls. Like, I've got calls personally. They somehow find my number and they'll be like, just complaining that the building's selling. And I'm like, well, there's nothing someone was going to buy it, right? It just happened to be us. We also don't run on-site management, which some tenants don't like when we first take over. So there's always that conversation to have. But you send that letter out first. And then on the day that you're taking over, we always send out a big welcome package. So when we door drop those, we go to every single unit, and that'll have way more information. It'll have a breakdown of how our app works, how the payment's going to work, how you contact us in emergencies in a lot more detail. And usually there'll be a little free key change. There'll be something in there for the tenant. The hardest part is always the onboarding everybody onto whatever technology you use. And if you're brand new and it's your first building, you probably don't even have an app that you use for tenants to connect. And I mean, that's simpler in the fact that you don't have to get them to do it, but you're going to have to then get their bank information or checks or however you're going to collect rent. For us now, like, we only use that app. So everybody has to get on. And that can be a struggle. Again, when you're dealing with 300 people, some of them are old and they don't want to use technology, or they say they don't have a phone, and you have to try to work around all of that. We don't, very rarely do we take checks anymore or cash. It's just very inefficient, and there's always problems with it. So we try not to. We do make some exceptions, and usually we charge a small fee to do that. But getting people onboarded onto your technology, just make sure you have as much information for them as possible and have it broken down as easy as you can so they understand how to get on. And then you can even, having ads ready to go, because we always find the first 3 to 6 months, you're going to have the highest turnover in those properties. There's people that are upset that there's a new landlord, or they don't like something you're doing, or they just wanted an excuse to move. And so the first couple months, and you're getting rid of all the bad tenants, right? The last property we took over, we turned over a huge portion of that because there was just a lot of bad people in there, right? People that either weren't paying or they were wrecking the units or bothering their neighbors. So you're going to have a lot more turnover. So if you can have, you could have the unit ads ready to go. So if there's empty units on day 1 or day 2 there, you're ready to send them out and you're not getting behind where people start going and then you're trying to backfill units because you're almost always going to run vacancy higher that first couple days. So I think the biggest thing and the thing to remember when you're taking over a property is this is one of the things people are most emotional about. It is their home. Most of them don't like the fact that someone new is coming in and they have no reason to know or like or trust you, right? They probably have a relationship with the previous property manager. So you have to try to make them feel comfortable with your company. You're going to get so many phone calls and people coming and talking those first couple of days because they just want to, kind of get a feel for the company. And it's just communication. So get out as much information to them as you can. And that can be hard because you might not have it, they might have an old number on file or whatever, but that's where like doing door drops, have someone there the first couple of days just to make them feel comfortable. And if you can, I mean, it's not always possible, but if they have maintenance requests come in right away, get them fixed right away. We always find it's that first little bit people feel us out and we generally are happy with us the longer we stay, and we'll always get compliments down the road that they're happy we took over. But taking over, it's always scary and it's always like a hard thing. For sure, if it's your first one and you've never done it, you're not even going to know what to do, but it's probably going to be a smaller building and you can build more of a connection. The first bigger building we took over, we were there working, doing construction every single day. So we got to know all the tenants and it became a community very quickly. They got to know us and we're easy to work with. So I think just make sure you got a lot of communication and build out a big checklist and ask people who already own property or property managers, like, what should we make sure we have switched over for day 1? And you'll be able to build out your list there. So every time we take over a building, it's always a new, exciting adventure. It's always different, and you can have everything planned perfectly, and things will go wrong or things might go better than expected. But try to get as much information out as you can in advance to the tenants, and even if it's multiple things you can send out that first day, make sure they're getting information. Make sure they have your number for the maintenance side for sure, the emergency number. And then just working with the property management company that owns it already, that can be huge. They can help you out to some degree and make sure they get that information out to the tenants. And other than that, it's just going to be learning on the go. So good luck with buildings that you guys take over. Like I said, we'll circle back and I'll do another episode once we've taken over these properties and see how things went, and we'll go over the problems we had and the things that went well. So we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening.